Harper Perennial and HarperAudio present A Big Storm Knocked It Over, a novel by Laurie Colwin, performed by Rebecca Lowman. To Harriet Shapiro, Franny Taliaferro, and Julie Devlin. Surely, of all things in the world, the rarest is a civilized man at peace with himself. Gontran de Pensin, Kabluna. Part 1. 1. Jane Louise Parker sat at her drawing board looking out her office window. The late September light was hazy and warm, but the breeze, the window was open a crack, was slightly chill. This was what the Chinese called pneumonia weather. Jane Louise knew this from having designed the interior of a book entitled Magic Needles, The Story of Acupuncture in the West. She yawned. 2 weeks ago, she had stood up in front of a judge and had been transformed from Jane Louise Myers into Jane Louise Parker and become the lawful wedded wife of Teddy Parker, named Theodore Cornelius for his father and great-grandfather. After wedding cake and champagne, they had gone off to Maine for a week and then returned to the apartment they had shared for a year. Now they were married and back at work. Back at work. Jane Louise had occupied this office longer than she had known her own husband. She had lived in this office for more years than she had lived at her present address. In some ways, this office was her true home. She had come to it a comparatively young woman, and in not so long she would kiss her 30s goodbye. In this very chair, she had agonized over love affairs gone wrong and wondered, as she had stared out of this selfsame window, if she would ever meet and fall in love with someone she might care to marry. At this drawing table, she had realized that she had fallen in love with Teddy and had spent hours daydreaming about him. Then, after one short ceremony in the formal room of a rented mansion, she had been reclassified as a married woman. She could not stop looking at the plain band Teddy had bought for her at an antique store. His parents' marriage had been short-lived and acrimonious, while Jane Louise's mother's hand was tiny. Therefore, no family rings would have done. Besides, Teddy's mother favored white gold, and Jane Louise's mother preferred pink, whereas Jane Louise liked gold that was almost green. She was gazing at her hand when she heard a noise in the doorway, and there, staring at her, was her boss, the art director, Sven Michelson. "Nuptial radiance," he said, "covered like a veil." Sven was compact and well-made, like a good canoe. He had short-cropped silver hair and light, cold blue eyes. His clothes were very beautiful and expensive. It was said that he had 2 real interests in this world, besides running the art department of a prominent publishing house: poker and fucking. There were numerous stories about him. His mother was a Dane. His father had been something of a shady character in show business. He was half Jewish, half flinty Scandinavian, and it was said that the art departments of major New York publishing companies were littered with his victims. When once confronted with this reputation by Jane Louise, Sven said, "I don't discriminate against editorial." He was married to his 3rd wife, with whom he had produced his 4th child. His secretary, Adele Lewitkin, claimed that Sven's motto was, "A family for every decade." There was no question about it. Sven exuded a kind of louche, creepy charm, a sex appeal devoid of such frills as affection or love. You looked at Sven and saw that action, plain and simple, was the name of his game. For years he had been nosing around Jane Louise, of whom he liked to say that he had seen her grow from a callow girl into a ripe peach, and one night, 4 years ago, Sven had made his move. They had both worked late, and Sven had come into her office. Only her drafter's lamp had been on, throwing a cone of light onto her desk. The rest of the room was a dark, velvet brown. As Jane Louise bent over her work, her hair
Sample complete. Ready to continue?